I may not be a drinker, but if I were, I feel like this would probably be my kind of bar. Hello everyone, and welcome back once again to Gary's Mod. And today, the map we're going to be exploring is GM Daydream, a surreal dreamcore exploration map which draws inspiration from a ton of different media, chief among them being things like LSD Dream Emulator and the Enna series of YouTube videos. Now, having engaged with such things very recently, I am extremely excited to see what this is like. But what better place to start than a comfy landing pad for us to get our bearings? Have a look at some of these portraits on the wall, each almost acting like portals to other comfy spaces. Looks like a Japanese home, a restaurant on a sunset night, and some industrial machinations in the fog. Oh, this is going to be really cool. There's a really scary door back there saying authorized personnel only, but it only feels right to go visit the doorway that's open for us first. And then we can start breaking the rules. Ooh, look. There's a rainbow walkway going down here. Look at this. It's like an industrial back area, a loading bay. But there's a thick fog that hangs over the ceiling. I've learned not to trust exit signs in a space like this, so let's go do what it tells us first. Ooh, it's got those stars running along the edges. This is almost reminding me right off the bat of like one of those Nipper maps, and wow, as I'm staring at this, I'm realizing just how much this illusion is being sold in VR. That's making my stomach get pulled out and dragged down the hall. Almost feels like I'm being towed along by a leash. Now I'm expected to pivot and walk around here. Ooh. This is making me dizzy. I'm actually losing my footing. Oh, and it's a maze too. Okay. There are, ooh! I can't tell. From this angle right here, I legitimately could not tell if I was moving or not. I thought I was being pulled forward, but I don't think I was. There was a way out back there. So you have no idea how weird it is to not be able to gauge how much of this walking is actually me. It's like there's a certain distance I expect to move in a given length of time, and that doesn't seem to match with what I'm seeing, and it's really throwing me off. Hey there, Shadow Man. Oh, it's an art gallery. That's just a screenshot from the long drive. Then again, I imagine these things are sourced from all over the place. Speaking of sources, that is a cluttered brush and hammer. Oh, look at that. A screenshot from Minecraft. Although, it appears to be at the top of a mountain, but with the draw distance set as low as it can go, giving the appearance of being suspended in a void. You there at the center, you're like a man heavily JPEG'd, but it's only in those artifacts that we can sort of make out some detail. Otherwise, it's like you'd appear as all black. By framing you up in the center, it's like you're the caretaker of this particular gallery. Ooh. You are 23 years old. Looks like the last person took a bit of a dive. That's actually weird how this whole thing presents in such a surreal and dreamlike manner, and yet we see evidence of realistic consequences of a human engaging with this world. Looks like whoever was there for the celebration left quite a mess. Now, there are probably some references that I'm not going to be getting. It says on the workshop page that this draws inspiration from a lot of different surreal media. For example, Rain World. Why is your slug cat red? Hey there. Are you a door? A crying door? Though it seems that the worst of your crying has ceased, and, well, now you're just confused that I'm here. I figured you'd move, and I was still caught off guard by it. Oh, everyone, remember not to forget Pigsy. How cool is this? Snow silently falling in a courtyard, with nothing but blinding white sky in every direction. You closed behind me? Well, I have to fulfill the reference. My arms are making that come off a bit weird, but I guess you get it. I'm not 100% sure, but this looks to be a reference to Blade Runner 2049. Can we go through this door? Seems to be open a crack. Nope, there's no going back in there. Although it would be nice to stand here watching the snow fall, or imagine even a heavy rain. Ooh. An indoor forest, but the fog seems ever present. Hello? There we go. It was trying to use the engine flashlight. You know, not only is it weird that the signs are backwards, it's weird that the arrows are pointing away from the exit. Like it's double backwards or something. We're back where we started. Okay. Let's have a look around this corner then. Is there another door? No, because that's where we came in over there. The last thing I expected to see was a normal house. Huh. Let's close this door because with the scale of it, it actually feels really comfy. I mean, there's some real megalophobia going on in these maps, even this one. But when it feels like I can reach up and touch the ceiling, something about smaller scale in VR, it's really cozy. Look at that, a computer desk right beside the big window looking out onto the dark night. At any time, you can step out and stand on that balcony. Okay, this definitely counts as square footage, right? Hang on, let's finish exploring. Just staring out over eternity. It's like your own personal Yumi Nikki spawn room. It's like even the house itself disappears from this perspective when you decide to look back on it. I can imagine this being portrayed with very simple graphics. Oops. We're gonna have to close this door behind us, I think. Hey, there's the toilet. Ooh. Now there's something I'm not sure I've seen before. It's got a classic pool rooms aesthetic, but looking out onto a sunset, a dark and cloudy one. I mean, I've seen pool rooms in the dark, but usually it's more of a basement type thing where there's no natural light getting in. I've never seen a clear evidence of night in one. But somehow it feels... Any way of knowing how deep this is? About neck deep. Deeper than expected, but not as deep as it could have been. And oddly enough, this actually feels sort of nice. Floating in the water. I imagine it's quite warm. And just kind of allowing the sensory deprivation. Okay, but we can make our way back. Now we've got to drop down. And that's going to mean going over that neon path again. Oh. Wait, there's a hidden staircase right here. But it is further down, so I imagine... Ooh, actually, there's a couple of things we haven't seen. I was worried that I was exhausting things already, but, you know, oh my god. I'm never ever ready for it. We can come around to here. Yes, this is the thing that acts as our hub. Oh, that's quite a long way. Actually, this might be a reference to Metal Gear Solid 3. If so, that is really cool. Of course, we can ascend quite a bit more quickly than that. Ooh. It is a Japanese home, almost like the one seen in the portrait in the bar, but it almost has like N64 graphics. If we look at the trim along this forest surrounding us, we can actually see those stars moving in the background. Table is here, but it's like a flat texture on the ground. Why do I get the impression that like something lively was once here but isn't anymore? I compared it to an N64 game, but it's almost like being in a model that someone made of their family home. No way. Nope, 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 nope! You can't just do that! No, this is a completely different creator that, as far as I know, is not at all affiliated with Pink Black, and here it is. I'm telling you, it's bleeding into just all liminal space iconography. It's using the more vibrant pool rooms imagery, the lights that reflect off the water, but I don't know if I've ever seen it to where we can actively see the water flowing in. Also, VR is behaving very strangely with the way these reflections are going. I don't know if you can see that or what it'll look like to you. It's like I can maneuver it around with my field of vision, but at a certain point it just kind of catches, it bites. Well, let's follow the path as intended. It sort of reminds me of the water park, like indoor pool thing from Anthology of the Killer. Let's just hope a ghost girl doesn't come rising up from beneath these ripples, huh? Ooh. This is just at that point. The water is just chest high, and it's like I can feel the chill terminating at a specific line. Ooh. There's a bit of glide to this. I am walking on water after all. We can climb up the stairs here. Come on. There we go. Authorized personnel only. The second door of the type we've seen. I'll admit to curiosity. Huh. Oh, wait. Is that a two-way mirror? You're watching people in here. I wonder what such a control room would actually do. Once again, it's an example of very surreal imagery with just a tinge on the edge of something more technical, something more realistic. It's a really uncomfortable juxtaposition for some reason. Ooh. Now that would be a great D&D table, wouldn't it? It's like the lobby of some penthouse apartment. Looking out onto that same sunset as the pool rooms. You've got your own waterfall behind your plant bed. Oops. We can actually come walk out here, enjoy it for ourselves. Ooh. It's really weird that there's not even anything to block us from coming over here. Well, there is an invisible wall, but other than that, it doesn't even care about the stretching off into nothing that the skybox does. It doesn't even care that we can see into adjacent rooms. It just allows us to explore with no like game design presentation to it. And somehow that's a presentation all its own. You know what this sort of reminds me of? It reminds me of those like 90s just real estate exploration things. I want to have a look at these portraits because they're really interesting to me. Yes, Island of the Dead, or one of its many variations. You know, I actually saw this in person with Elster. It was incredibly surreal. And since this map is referencing so many other things, I wonder if this is a direct reference to Signalis. I mean, it's something that's been reproduced in so many different ways. It's actually a point in that game, and I was thinking, even when I first saw this, before I saw that it seems like another angle of the same place. This is really, really cool. But now we've got to make our way through the foggy forest. Foggy forest with the starry night above. And it doesn't form a pathway through. I've actually got to kind of push through these pine branches. Once again, the fidelity of VR is such that I can actually kind of feel, like I can feel the tickle of these branches brushing my face. It's like being in line at the E.T. ride at Universal, huh? Fog in a movie theater. Look at that. The glow from a screen casting over an audience of none, silently playing a loop of clouds in front of the moon. Well, we assume an audience of none. Absolute cinema. This kind of feels like a certain segment of Interior Worlds, actually. And at this point, I really am just kind of walking around trying to guess all the references, and that one in particular may be a bit of a reach. But it's so cool that I'm actually getting these things instead of just being informed about them in the comments. Although I'm sure you'll still have plenty for me. It's snowing in this hallway. Like a back alley. It's snowing out here on this parking lot as well. A lone car in front of a shuttered store. Oh, look at that. It's the haunted PS1 poster. I've got to get to playing some more of those. I've only played one of them on the channel. Can we travel through these, or are they just dead ends? Nope. Invisible wall. But what a lonely and nostalgic image. Like that one frame you remember from that day back in 1998. Maybe you were with your parents while running errands, you were left in the car for a little bit, and you just kind of looked around, and this was the imagery that stuck with you. Was there another door back here? There was. Okay, well, obviously I have to continue this chain. Look at that, the solid colors on the ground. Like, obviously it looks like an extreme version of a 90s play place. This thing looks so wide it could go very, very wrong very easily. But at the same time, it's got these bare concrete walls, these ratty wooden picnic benches. But that was the juxtaposition. Everything looked so produced, and yet it was always in the crappiest, cheapest establishment possible. You can see both of these things at the same time, and even if it's exaggerated, it's not exactly unrealistic. Let me up and over. I'm not going to miss this part of my childhood. I mean, I'm not going to miss re-exploring this part of my childhood. I absolutely miss it. I want to jump into the ball pit, but I'm just remembering how on Places You've Seen in Your Dreams, there was a pit leading to a corpse pile. Oop. Thankfully, this only seems to be about shin deep. Just like that attic crawl space in the corner there. Okay, we'll worry about the Nightmare Realm as soon as I'm done playing. Oh my! I was just gonna say that I'm gonna act like I'm struggling to walk over it, but you know, in VR, getting pushed along like that really sells the illusion. Good job, if intentional. That little tingle, I love it. Wait, we can drop down here and just sort of run amid the poles. I can just imagine, as a kid, like running up to this thing and putting your hand out as you go around so that you kind of, your arm sort of turns you as you fling around. You don't even have to change momentum. We'll save that ball pit for a little later. By a little later, I mean right now. Look, here's where we come up to the glass window, and we're like, Mom, look, I'm up here. And then she's just talking to her friend the whole time, so you're just like pounding on the glass like, Mom! And then she eventually goes, hey, and you're like, yeah, that's right. And then you come and slide down. Yep. Oh my God, I figured that would happen. On the bright side, we can see some things on the way back. It seems like our exploration has been momentarily delayed, so on the way, we may as well revisit some things we missed. Did that table just change color as I dropped down? 23 years old. Wonder what this is a reference to. This is one that I do not get, but I feel like some of these work without context. Just a different interpretation is all. Ooh. I always wanted a pony. Look at you, just sitting in shadow, you know? Maybe this was meant to be entered from the other way. Yeah, see? In an empty room with a ratty ceiling, but fancy floor, and sort of in the middle walls. But since you're a cutout, you sort of resemble like a sprite in a 90s piece of software, like some encyclopedia from back then. Like you'd be our guide through the world of knowledge. Stuff from that time, I wonder if they knew how off-putting it was. Yeah, look at that. Like this would be the intro. The camera would fly up, the door would open a crack, and then you would see that sprite poke its head through, and some compressed voice would be like, "Hey there." I don't even want to think about that. The 90s were a really creepy time. It would almost give the impression that there's a similar world behind each of these doors. It's just that they're not seeing anyone today. This is probably in the back of that storeroom where we first entered. Yes. So we've only one way to go. Let's see what's through here. At what point will you be satisfied with my crouch, game? This is a more realistic looking environment. I'll be honest, that shadow at the back, I almost expected it to be like an alternate exit to the slide. We've got a couple of doors up here. It is strange seeing something so, I mean, no pun intended, concrete. And we're back at the bar. Ooh. Why does this feel so familiar? Large, dark spaces that don't seem like much until you're right in the middle of them, and then you can't wait to reach the light again. As I ascend this, the top not even visible in the fog, I keep expecting one of these to be an open window and something to reach out and try to grab me. It's a mall. Not just any mall. It's the oldest view. So, were this functioning as in that video? Oh my god. Okay, now we're paying direct homage to LSD Dream Emulator. I gotta say, that's not a game I ever thought I'd experience in virtual reality. I wonder if those who created that game knew the lasting influence it would have on the entire genre. Because I feel like it's something that not a lot of people had heard of for a long time, but by then they had definitely played a lot of media that was touched by it, or touched by something that was touched by it. Here we are. It was all a reference to LSD. This was right beside us, and we had no idea the entire time. But you know what? I think that's just fine, because now we can keep moving forward. Back to the movie theater. back to the back room. And back to here. Ooh. Look at this. We can actually take that watery tunnel. Oh! I just got shot out of there at high pressure. That is much, much faster than the water is lazily dribbling out. Oh, this map's got some tricks up its sleeve. I guess that means that all that's left after that betrayal of a slide, it did go wrong. It did go wrong, just delayed, so it got me anyway. All that's left now is to see what's through that creepy crawl space. Look at that. Another two-way mirror. We're behind the screen. It's like someone set this whole thing up just so that they could watch a mesmerized crowd. Like, that's one of those thoughts that once it gets in my head, my imagination does all the creeping out for me. What do we make of someone whose main desire is to watch people watch the moon? Let's move on. Leading to the ultimate comfy room. Look at this. Why does this feel so familiar? In any case, it definitely seems like a good place to end it. I mean, where do you end a dream but back at your own bed? Let's just close this door behind us. It's so appropriate. Once we're done playing, once we're done enjoying, we just crawl back up here to rest. So that was GM Daydream, and I enjoyed that so much. It was short and sweet, and it had a lot of variety, and it had a lot of references. And it's so cool to be able to walk through and spot things I recognize, but still done in an artistic way where it works even if you don't get them. There were a fair few that I didn't, but there was still something for me to look at and interpret there. It makes me think about how media is such an inspiration feedback loop, isn't it? How, something like LSD Dream Emulator inspires Yumi Nikki, which inspires a million other things like Enna, and people take inspiration from those and use it to inform their own art, and everyone is just a collection of all these things that they've seen, which they can then channel into something new, which inspires other things. It's just... might be a controversial opinion, but I've said it before and I'll say it again. We are currently living in the best time that's existed for creativity in media. Not just because of all these tools being at the fingertips of just basically anyone. You don't need a big studio or publisher to make something that's like financially viable. But also because there's just so much access to different ideas. I mean, back in the late 90s, early 2000s, what American would have heard of LSD Dream Emulator? It didn't even have a US release. There was no English version. And, unless you saw it on the shelves there, you didn't really know what it was. I think most people probably learned about it through association with Yumi Nikki, which came out a few years later and was freely available on the internet. These days, all these weird and niche things are able to gain popularity and kind of enter the public consciousness where before it would only be with like a fringe group of like enthusiasts. And that's just so cool. I mean, I feel like in that way, people are able to be more creative than before because they have so much more inspiration available to them. But we can also break down the technical side of how this works with a no-clip run. Woo! Wow, this is actually... It didn't feel that big, but there is a tremendous amount here. Look at this. We have a creator room where info players start. My beloved can also watch the sunset and the moon simultaneously. Yeah, me and him, we go way back. I did not enjoy the time I spent with you on Macy State Psychiatric Center, just know that. Anyway, look at that. Do we have a punching bag in the corner here? What is this about? Let's fly out and see what else is around. There's the play area, sitting actually right above the oldest view staircase. This is so cool, how everything just sort of weaves together. And I really love the idea of this thing as like a central hub that separates all the different areas, because it basically takes away your sense of spatial awareness. Makes it impossible to maintain a real sense of direction. But here we are. I thought we were starting off in like a comfy location sequestered away from the adventure to come, and turns out we were actually on something that, when viewed like this from above, kind of more resembles a TV set. I guess you could call it a liminal space map. I mean, it's got some of those hallmarks, but it's also done in a way where it's not quite like anything I'd played before, and it was a huge amount of fun. Hang on, wait. Info player start juice, okay? Earth Castle's very own Davis keeps stealing it. Davis Goober Root Beer. You silly billies from California. Goobers too. Creepy and comfy hot chocolate. Help! Hi. Oh, that is so cool. Thank you. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Gary's Mod. 5 Pepsi, found, portable, and tasty. Well, if you like this video, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more creepy and comfy content. If you have any ideas for other videos you think I should do, the best place to suggest that will be at the Discord, which I will link in the description. If you want to try this game out for yourself, that link will also be in the description. If you want to support me on Patreon, that link will be in the description. And as always, I will see you in the next one.